Hi everyone. Sabri, can you guys hear me? Okay, wonderful. Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Gurpreet Ahuja. I am the CEO and co-founder at TrackMap. And today in the session, along with me, we have my colleague Sabri Nathan Sampath. He's the Senior Vice President. On behalf of the team TrackMap, I would like to thank all of you for joining this session. At the same time, welcome you for the session on overcoming the challenges in selling cloud services. And the session is being brought to you by TrackMap. Sabri, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so we try to understand here what are the business goals of a typical CSP or a cloud service provider. So there are three key goals what we're looking at. One, of course, is scale. A scale essentially means that as a CSP, one would want to drive a certain volume of business on the cloud. Of course, you started with the commodity services and you keep adding the customers to base of your pyramid, and then you start attaching more and more services to be able to drive more revenues and profitability. The second is being control the costs, which means, of course, you're looking at not just the bottom line, the top line, but also as the bottom line of profitability and margin, which means as you scale the business, you want to make sure that your costs remain in control, and so you can build up your profits and margins. Last but not the least, it's important that we have a smooth customer experience, and this is utmost important for us to maintain the customer retention. We want to retain as many satisfied customers and eventually being able to cross-sell and upsell multiple services to these customers. Now, with these basic goals in mind, we would want to move forward to see what is that framework we need to build up for a typical CSP to drive success into the business. Okay, this is a very high-level framework of success what we want to drive with the CSP business. If you see the three key pillars here, of course, we see an automation tool or various tools in the middle of it. But what is important in the either side is that we need a very strong online presence. We need to take care of digital marketing, search engine optimization, social media, etc. Now, this is not just for driving the traffic to the CSP portal, but also establish the credibility of the CSP and let the audiences know that as a CSP, you have a certain portfolio of products and you have the credibility which is there, which actually directly or indirectly positively impacts your business. Automation tools definitely are important, which we'll be talking over a period of time. And finally, what we say is that for one to be successful as a CSP, you need operational resources. Now, these resources could be pre-sales person, solution architects to offer a certain range of solutions which you create for your customers. They could be post-sales teams which will be satisfying the needs of your customers and addressing their support ticketing queries. The reason we're putting this framework here right now is also one, a CSP certainly needs this kind of a framework for being successful. Just having a tool an automation tool is not good enough. You need to have a complete end-to-end solution. And TrackMap as an organization, if you're talking about, we can help you with all of these three pillars independently or as a package. Besides this, there is a certain amount of best practices which are needed, which we built our portfolio courtesy the experiences we've had with various CSPs across the world, and also our sister company being a CSP. We have those best practices which we can share in a complementary way with the CSPs to drive success with them. Okay, now let's talk about what are the essentials which are needed for the CSP to be successful. Now, depending on the size of a CSP or a cloud service provider, and the stage you are in your journey towards having a successful cloud business, we split the needs into two parts. One is a must-have, and second is good to have. So upper part, we're talking about must-have. What are these must-haves? Now, this again is based on the experience of, as I mentioned earlier, of having experience with several CSPs across the world, and of course with our sister company. We realize that no matter how small or big a CSP you are and what stage of your business you are, billing, definitely having a tool for billing is a must-have. It's utmost important, because as the number of seats, as number of instances keep on increasing of your infrastructure as a service, billing becomes a very essential component of handling that. Next is provisioning. Provisioning has to be absolutely seamless, and your customers would expect that they get as soon as the service has been paid for or has been ordered, it should go live as soon as possible. And the experience of the service going live also has to be pretty quick and seamless. Finally, ticketing. Now, ticketing also plays an important role, because as far as the customer is concerned, he would want to make sure that there should be a clear panel or a pane of glass where he can go and put his support tickets and get a response to his support tickets. That's utmost important. Now, looking at these three tools, what you need, and looking at the success measures, of course, when you do stuff manually, you can reach scale, but you don't reach that efficiency in the scale what you're looking at. And in terms of the costs, you can't really control your costs as much if you do it manually, because as the number of seats and instances keep on increasing, you have to add more and more manpower to that, which is again probably compromising in the customer experience, because no two people work alike, and at the same time your costs are increasing. And again, customer experience, as we talked about, the whole experience of the customer in terms of ordering, provisioning, billing, his self-service in terms of ticketing, all of this is absolutely seamless if it is done in an automated way, vis-a-vis you're doing it in a manual manner. Now, these are the three must-haves from our experience which we shared with you. Now, looking at the good to haves, okay, there are four good to haves what we feel. One, of course, is the customer self-service. Now, this is something every customer is very keen that allow me to have a single pane of glass through which I can see all the services which I bought from you. Is there an opportunity to upscale or downscale these services? Can I monitor what is my consumption? And can I see my invoices which are being generated through you? The customer self-service plays a very important part, even if it is a good to have. Next is a marketplace. Now, marketplace essentially does not necessarily mean that this is a portal where your entire business is going to be transacted. But this is one place where the customers come and check the complete portfolio of products you have. They might or might not place a purchase order online. But if they're buying an online service, it makes sense for them to visit your marketplace to check all the products you have in your a la carte or a bundle offer or a promotion. Okay, and perhaps if they want to place an order, they could place an order. The payment could come offline or online. So the marketplace plays certainly an important role. And it's your digital identity, so it's important that you have a marketplace where, of course, you can run your promotions. Next is an ability to have cross-sell and upsell. As we mentioned in the beginning, the whole business entire business is about scale. So you should have a tool through which your system is able to understand what are the basic services which customers have bought. And at what point of time, what stage should I start sending some kind of a communications or start doing an upsell to these customers to buy more services? Example, a customer has bought Office 365. Should I be selling something to him as a backup or additional services which I should be allocating to this customer? So there should be tools which help you and drive and manage the cross-sell and upsell. Now again, coming to the success measures, of course, if you do manually, you can do all of this stuff manually, but of course you don't reach that efficiency. You can't really keep your costs in control if you're doing it manually. At the same time, the customer experience is not seamless, which means if a customer is coming to buy a service at 10 a.m. in the morning, let's say Office 365 seats, and 10 p.m. he wants to buy Azure instances, the customer experience might not be as smooth as it did in the morning or at the night. So you really want to make sure, irrespective of what service the customer is buying, when he's buying, it remains absolutely seamless. So to summarize, these are the must-haves and good to haves in terms of the CSP business. Okay, from here I am going to hand over the session to my colleague Sabri, where he's going to walk us through an overview of what an automation tool should actually look like and how does it address the basic points which we just shown in the previous slides. And post that, Sabri would help us walk us through a live demo of the platform where all the points we've just spoken about would be demonstrated to you on a live platform. And in the meanwhile, you have any questions relating to the slides which have been presented, or any questions which you have to what Sabri is going to present, our team will be on the standby on the chat and glad to address your queries. Thank you so much. Sabri, off to you.
Thank you, Gurpreet. Hope everyone can hear me. If yes, if someone could type yes, that would be great. Okay, thank you. Looks like people are able to hear me. That's great. Thank you, Gurpreet. So what I'm going to cover is following up on what Gurpreet was mentioning, some of the challenges what the CSPs face, for example, in terms of scaling their business, in terms of being able to address the needs of the customer via ticketing tool, etc. Some of the challenges what they may face, we are able to address that via the RackNav automation tool. So what I'm going to cover today is to give you a very high-level functional overview about RackNav, what RackNav is all about, and how RackNav can help overcome these challenges. Okay? So if you look at what you're seeing here, this is where RackNav is able to cater to the needs of a cloud solution provider in a direct tier 1 model, where the CSP, once he has had RackNav deployed, he will be able to sell directly to end customers in the tier 1 model. Okay? And also, RackNav is also able to cater to the needs of an indirect partner model, whereby the distributor or the tier 2 provider is able to onboard partners, and the partners can subsequently sell services to their end customers. So RackNav's marketplace, which can be white labeled, caters to the needs of both tier 1 and tier 2 model of selling. Okay? And if you look at traditional ways of selling or traditional services, what have been sold predominantly by hosters or MSPs, they may be selling, for example, VPSs or dedicated servers, or maybe shared hosting, WordPress hosting, reseller hosting kind of services. They may already be selling that in the past, and they may still want to continue to sell them because they want to start upselling those customers with new age cloud services. And that's where RackNav can come in. RackNav helps you to sell your traditional services combined with new age cloud services. So here you can start to sell, for example, Microsoft Office 365, Azure Public Cloud, and for example, the other services from the other cloud providers, which includes Amazon Web Services or IBM SoftLayer, or for example, if you're offering private cloud solutions, RackNav can help do that with OpenStack. So RackNav is able to combine traditional services and new age cloud services to be able to sold under one umbrella. Okay? And as you can see from here, RackNav is a true multi-cloud service provider. So we are cloud provider agnostic. We work with the different cloud providers and offer a wide variety or portfolio of services to cloud solution providers who can then subsequently sell to their end customers. Okay? And all of these services, primarily we're not limiting you to be selling just these services. You can also sell, for example, managed service plans to go with it, or professional services or support offerings or hardware. There is no limit in terms of the number of services you would like to sell that can be supported by RackNav. And these are the different modules which support RackNav. For example, there is an ordering module which helps customers to place an order for different products or services, bundle them as well. And for example, there is a billing module which helps customers to be able to purchase products with different billing models. Some customers would prefer a prepaid model where they would want to have the peace of mind to pay a fixed cost upfront. Some customers would prefer a pay-per-use model because they said, I'm not going to be consuming too much. I will pay only for what I use. So RackNav can support different billing models. And from a provisioning standpoint, RackNav can support automatic provisioning with APIs. For example, Azure Public Cloud can be provisioned via APIs automatically. Office 365 licenses can be provisioned automatically, etc. as well. Okay? And there may be some services which may not be automatically be provisionable. This could be, for example, maybe some hardware or maybe some managed services component. Are you able to hear me well? Just checking to make sure if things are okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, looks like people are able to hear me well. Okay. Thank you. So from a manual provisioning perspective, RackNav can help with manual provisioning with workflow or task-based provisioning as well. So whereby you can define workflows on the platform whereby you are able to actually manage the entire provisioning of that product manually. Okay? And very important from the points what Gurpreet was mentioning earlier, customer self-service, it is currently a good to have. And cloud solution providers are starting to see that as becoming more of a must-have, because the moment you start providing customer self-service portal to the end customers, they are able to purchase in services or upgrades and do everything themselves. Okay? And as you may very well appreciate, the cloud providers are starting to put the onus on the CSP to offer support to their customers. So RackNav offers a ticketing module with which you can track tickets and support interactions with the customer. Okay? RackNav is a homegrown CRM module, and if you already have a number of data centers based services, which includes provisioning of VPSs, dedicated servers, etc. in your data center, RackNav's inventory management module can help manage that. You can track your sales and marketing life cycle. Again, it's a homegrown module. Partner management, very important, where if you are a CSP tier 2 and you are wanting to sell or onboard partners and then subsequently sell services via them, partner management module helps with that capability, whereby you can onboard partners, assign credit limits, define the products and services they can sell, etc. as well. Very fundamental. Okay? And then business intelligence, very important, that execs need to understand how the services are performing. So it's very important that you get information at the fingertips, and business intelligence module helps you with that. So to summarize what we have seen in this picture is the overall functional architecture of RackNav, where to summarize, RackNav is an end-to-end ERP of cloud services, offering automation, billing capabilities, and back-end business management functions as well. Okay? So with this, I'm quickly going to switch to these aspects as a part of the demo flow. The customer purchasing journey, where how the customer is able to make a purchase, how seamless it can be, because this will help to drive volumes, in the sense you make it very seamless experience for the customer, and then you can continue to onboard more as you go. And then from a self-service function perspective, what are the things which the end customer can manage by himself? And as a cloud solution provider, what are the different functions you are able to manage as well? So these are the three broader functions with which you are able to manage the entire flow. So now with this, I'm going to switch to the actual demo setup. Okay. I hope you are able to see a website of a CSP right now. Okay. Yes, I believe I can hear yes from some people. Yes. So what as I mentioned in my slide, we will go through the customer purchasing journey, the customer management of the services, and then the administration aspect. So Zenith Live is a CSP tier 1 selling to customers directly. And for this demonstration, I'm going to take two products to be purchased. One is, for example, an Office 365 license to be purchased by an end customer. So this is a typical website what RackNav will help to design for you, white labeled against your local branding and guidelines. And if you see here, the web page contains details of the features, what you are able to offer to your end customers. And Microsoft offers a huge number of SKUs as a part of their CSP offering. And offering the entire list sometimes could be very confusing. So you may choose to shortlist a certain set of products or SKUs from that list, and you can start managing that from here. So for example, here, if you look at it, this is a particular product which the customer is planning to buy. And here you can also offer a domain to go with it. Okay, so here, if I look at, for example, the domain availability search, the system checks whether this particular domain is available. Yes, it seems to be available. We have integration done with OpenSRS and Logicbox's domain registrars, with which this domain availability check can be enabled. And now the customer chooses to purchase this particular domain, and he can choose the different billing periods with which he wants to purchase as well. Okay. And here is where the customer can choose the total number of licenses. So for example, if he has 7 employees in his organization, he is able to buy those 7 in here. And this is the total price what he will have to pay. This is excluding taxes. So if you include taxes for your local regions, that will be the final price. And if you can see here, this talks about registration. So this is the customer onboarding form, where the customer is able to enter his details and then register himself. So this is how a customer is able to register on the platform with this CSP. And now I'm just going to simulate the behavior of purchasing behavior of a customer who is purchasing this as an existing customer. Okay. So the system has already authenticated this, and if you can see here, the system has shown that there are 2 products which have been purchased, which is what I've just done right now. One is the Office 365 plan, other one is the domain. And if you can see here, there are different taxes applicable for that local region, and for your country or your region where you're operating, we can configure appropriate taxes as well. And when your organization is offering promotions, and if the customers have promotions, they can put those promotion codes or coupon codes in here and get a discount by clicking on the apply button. Okay? And now looking at what is on the left hand side is the total amount of money which the customer will have to pay to be able to make the purchase. And if he has some previous dues available, that gets displayed here. And this is where the payment gateway integration is enabled, whereby we have integrations done with a number of payment gateways. For example, CyberSource, which is a subsidiary of Visa, or Network International, or PayPal, etc. We have done integration with a number of them. And the customers can choose the payment gateway, click on Pay Now, and get the services provision real time. That can be done. Or in some scenarios, you may want to have the customer the flexibility to pay later, so they can then choose the pay later option, which is via check, demand draft, direct deposit, and then continue with the purchase. So as and when the customer clicks on Pay Now, the payment gateway integration takes over. That then the money is collected from the customer's payment account details defined here and deposited into your merchant account, your meaning the CSP's merchant account. So RackNap is a pure play software provider, it's a middleware. So all the interaction with the cloud provider or the payment gateway provider is between the CSP and the provider directly. So RackNap is just offering the software in this instance. So when the payment is sorted, automatic integration is enabled for provisioning these services. And in the subsequent steps, I will show you how the customer is able to see what has been provisioned and manage them as well. Okay, so this is a typical purchasing flow of a customer purchasing an Office 365 offering. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show something on Azure as well. Okay, so let me just quickly show Azure how that's provisioned. Okay. So now Azure, as you may very well know, is offered by Microsoft, and it can be offered in two different flavors. One is a prepaid model, and the other one is a pay-per-use model. So in the pay-per-use model, as the name says, the customer typically will have to pay at a later stage based on actual consumption. So what this provider Zenith Live is doing is enticing the customer to just sign up for a subscription. Okay. So as you can see here, the customer just signed up and he's already logged in under this ID. He's signed up, and you can see something called an Azure fund. Okay, this is like a security deposit or some kind of a credit limit or a budget limit which this provider has set. Okay, what is the purpose of this? The purpose of this is to reduce or minimize the risk of exposure from offering a pay-per-use model, because pay-per-use model has its own risks associated with that, whereby you will still have to pay the cloud provider irrespective of whether the customer pays you or not. So to minimize that risk, this provider has defined this budget limit. And now, for example, the customer is now choosing a particular demo host name to be able to provision against his particular Azure host, whichever he's going to provision against. Okay? So here, once this check is done, the system validates against that hostname availability and then confirms, yes, this is available. And again, the customer can pay that security deposit based on the different payment gateway options enabled. Okay? So in this typical model, the customer actually gets just a subscription provisioned. So this is like unlimited access to be able to use any of the services available under Azure. Okay? So he gets an Azure subscription, and then in the subsequent sections, I will show you how he's able to manage that as well. Okay? So now, just to summarize where we are right now, we looked at the purchasing flow of a customer purchasing Office 365 licenses. We looked at how the customer is able to purchase an Azure subscription. And now I'm going to say you how he's able to manage it as well. So I'm going to click on Manage Services. So where I'm now logged in as a customer now. So this is the customer who just made the purchase of these two services, and these are different tabs which shows you different sets of information. For example, current services tells you the list of all the services which the customer has purchased. So let's start off with, for example, an Office 365 subscription here, right? So here I'm just going to select this one here. So this is the plan which the customer purchased, and this is the domain name which he used during the purchase. And because of the automatic integration which we have enabled with Microsoft CSP portal, we are able to retrieve the actual login details of the Office subscription here with the username and password and the actual subscription ID itself. And in this example, the customer has purchased 2 licenses. And if you see here, he has purchased this on this particular date. He purchased an yearly plan, which means the next due date is 1 year from this date, which is in 2018. Okay? And the first payment date and the recurring payments, etc. Okay? And if you see here, this gives him the opportunity to renew his services for another yearly period, and the customer can choose to do so as he wishes. Okay? And this is very important. This goes back to some of the good to have items which Gurpreet was mentioning earlier. We're giving the flexibility for the customer to actually add more licenses to it. For example, if the customer has new joinees in his organization, he is able to add additional licenses from here and pay for it as well. That's very, very crucial. You know, you're empowering the customer to perform all of the functions by himself. Okay. And for example, because we have integrations done with different domain registrars as well, the customer is actually able to manage his domain functions also from here. So which means he is able to update his whois details, name server details, etc., etc. And all of those details get updated in the domain registrar's portal directly. Okay. And recommended services. This goes back to the point earlier about offering the flexibility for the customer to look at other cross-sell options or to look at other upsell options as well. So if a customer is purchasing, let's say, an IaaS offering, you could bundle IaaS related services, for example, which could be backup, DR, etc., to go with it as well. And if you're offering any promotions or anything, you can allow that to be displayed in here via your admin portal. Okay. So to summarize, what we looked at is primarily the list of all the services which the customer is able to manage from here. And let me also show you something on Azure, because we managed to look at the purchasing flow of an Azure subscription earlier. Right. So here, this is the actual Azure subscription details, the host name which he used for the test earlier, and these are his Azure subscription details. Okay. So as you can see here, the entire access to the subscription is available for the customer. So he is now able to log on to the Azure portal and then start creating his virtual machine instances, download certain things, set up load balancer, whatever he needs, he can do that. Then comes the most important point. This is about actually looking at his consumption. So if you look at it here, the customer can choose to check what his consumption is for a particular period of time. He can click on show and it will show results like this, where he is able to look at actual consumption for different resource categories, what he has consumed. For example, under the data management category, he has consumed these resources, and these are his consumption values. And the most important thing here is the rate. Okay, so how is this rate arrived at? This is basically the rate what Microsoft offers you as a CSP, plus the margin what you can set on top of it. Let's say Microsoft offers you this particular resource at $1, and you may choose to set up a 20% margin on top of it, which means you would rate this, or you would see this as $1.2. Right? So RapNet gives you the flexibility to set margins on top of the cost price which Microsoft is providing. Okay. And as you can see here, this lists virtual machine, storage, network, everything, whatever the customer is consuming. And it also gives you a total at the bottom right corner. And what is the importance of this total? So this number is the total consumption of the customer up until this point of time, whatever he has chosen to check. Right? So this total is compared against the purchase of this credit limit, what he had originally agreed to. So this is $5,000 or 5,000 as per your local currency, and RackNav checks how much percentage of that has been consumed so far. And RackNav can alert the customer to say, hey, you have consumed 50%, 60%, 70%, whatever it, and you can continuously alert the customer accordingly as well. Okay, so this is very fundamental because in a pay-per-use model, there is always a risk that you might over exceed the actual consumption. So RackNav is actually able to manage all of this, whereby you can alert the customer and your internal teams as well before. Okay, and one other typical question which we are asked normally is, can I configure the catalog or the service catalog with my own product offerings? Yes, it is always possible to configure the product catalog with your own IP, what you may have generated. You know, this could be, for example, a managed services offering from your portfolio, etc. Okay, so getting back to Azure, so RackNav can send alerts to the customer at regular intervals based on the actual consumption. Okay, so and at the end of the month, an invoice is generated for Azure consumption based on the total consumption for that billing period. Okay, so I hope that's given you enough information about what are the functions which the customer is able to perform under the services section of his portal. And now let's quickly look at, for example, the support aspects of it. You know, as we talked earlier, the ticketing module is so crucial for the customer to be able to interact with the service provider at ease. So this is where RackNav comes in, to be able to offer the capability for the customer to submit tickets, right? So the customer is able to click on particular, let's say, submit ticket. He's having a problem, let's say, with a particular service, what he has purchased. He wants to log a support ticket, and he has, let's say, an FTP problem. And here the system gives him a knowledge base of articles which contains details of how to resolve this error. Right? So this knowledge base can be built by you and managed by you as a service provider. You know, with this, you are giving the capability for the customer to resolve his issues by himself without really reaching out to you, because this is really empowering the customer to be able to manage it himself. Right? An announcement section primarily to announce any downtimes, any patches, or anything which you may want to install, at which point of time if there is downtime, you can offer that information via this portal. And as you may appreciate that customers are drowned by emails which are continuously being sent. So there is a particular dedicated section which filters all the emails to him in a nice way so that he can look at all communications together in one place. Okay? And then as we saw earlier in the first slide here in the deck which Gurpreet was presenting, billing is one of the significant concerns for any customer or a CSP as well. The customer always needs to know how much has he been invoiced, how much is spending, etc., etc. And this ledger function gives you all of that info in terms of money coming in, going out of his account, etc., etc. So all of this is easily trackable here. And if you look at the invoices, this primarily gives you all the invoices which have been generated on the platform. And this is the invoice template with all the details of invoices, the name of the customer, exactly the name of Azure subscription, what is the invoice generated, GST, all of that details in here, So this again, as I said, local taxes can be configured, and if you have local payment options, then you can define all of that in here, and the customer can make the payment using those details here as well. Okay, so this is, and again, you can look at for all the orders which are coming to which the customer has placed. All of that also can be made visible here in terms of all the services, whatever he has purchased, etc. Okay, so I hope this is given you enough in terms of information around what the customer is able to manage by himself. So to summarize, we looked at what the customer has been able to purchase, and then we looked at what the customer is able to manage. Okay, so now we're going to look at what the customer admin portal, what the CSP portal looks like, where the cloud solution provider is able to manage his services. Okay, so now I'm just logged into the admin portal of the CSP, where the CSP is able to manage everything, right? So as you can see here, I'm logged in as a super administrator. There are quite a lot of functions you are able to see. That's because I have been defined the role of a super administrator with all the functions. Let's say I'm a product manager. I can look at all my product sales for a product category, which is Office 365. I'm a marketing guy. I can look at all my marketing functions. I'm a sales guy. I can look at sales functions. I'm a billing guy. I can look at billing functions. So all of this is controlled in the back end via appropriate roles and privileges. So you can define different roles, and depending on your role, you get to see the appropriate functions on the top. Okay, so again, I am logged in as a super administrator of the CSP. Okay, so now let's quickly look at some of the dashboard reports here. Again, this is test data. So I'm going to show you, for example, some functions or dashboard reports which are available. For example, this is a dashboard report showing revenue information over a period of time. You can look at revenue trends over a period of time to understand how the revenue projections have been, how the revenue growth has been over a period of time, etc. And you can also download some of this information into JPEGs or different file formats with which you are able to actually attach these to any of your, for example, your PPTs or any of that to your board members, etc. So this is something very, very handy for execs to understand that. And for example, this is another catchy report which will be appreciated by a lot of your procurement teams. They want to understand how many orders are coming in. Has there been a spike in the orders? Has there been a low in terms of order flow, etc.? They can look at all of that information here. And there are quite a lot of other information as well. For example, you can look at paid invoices, unpaid invoices, renewal invoices, etc. So cash collections people in finance department, they pretty much are always on the task trying to understand how much are the fresh paid invoices which are coming to my bank account, etc., etc. They are able to look at all of that information directly from here. So when all of this information is displayed, they are able to make informed decisions based on the data what they are seeing here. Okay? So it's very useful for execs to understand the health of their business. Okay? And I'm just going to simulate the behavior of, let's say, a product manager who is actually purchasing something, or sorry, who wants to look at the sales of his product. Okay? So here, what the system is able to showcase is the purchasing information of the total purchases made by different product categories. Okay? So let me just quickly jump into that particular section here. So if you see here, this is a particular graph which tells you the actual total product sales in terms of fresh sales, renewals, upgrades, and add-ons. Okay, and I'm sure in your organization you would have different salespeople looking at different portfolio of products. Let's say I am an Office 365 product manager. I'm keen to know whatever are my product sales for Office 365 from a fresh sales, renewal sales, etc. Right? So here, as you can appreciate, in this graph, you can see there are less number of fresh sales here. So this means probably your hunters are not doing their job. You may want to work with them to understand why their hunting rates are low in terms of fresh sales not happening, etc. And renewals are doing pretty good, and a good proportion of the sales has come on renewals as well. So you can make some informed decisions based on some of the data what you're seeing here. Okay, and what I've shown you so thus far is primarily a dashboard info. There are plenty of reports like that. We wouldn't be able to cover all of them in this session today, so I've just showing you a glimpse of what is possible. Okay, so now let's look at a customer record in terms of what the customer is what the customer's information looks like by an admin. Okay, so this is intelligent search built into the platform, where I'm just searching this based on a particular customer record. This is a test customer we've created on the platform. So if you look at it here, this is the customer record, and this is the name of the customer, the actual account ID, the actual company, etc. And these are the details what were captured at the beginning of the registration process. Okay, if you see here, there's plenty of information which has already been captured as available, and here the customer does not owe any money. Hence, it's a bright green color. It'll be a bright red if the customer owes some money. So, which means visually, your customer representatives can actually look at, whether the customer owes some money, etc. And a lot of very useful information which can help you to start upselling services. For example, there are services due for renewal in the next 7 days totaling this value, and there are 60 services, so which means you as a CSP can start offering upselling options, whereby he says, I'm having a business essential plan. You can tell him, hey, why don't you upgrade to a next higher plan? So you can do all of that with the information which you're seeing here, and the portfolio of services what he has purchased is here. You can do an assisted purchase on his behalf by clicking on an add order. The total number of tickets, what he has logged, etc. They are also here as well. And all email communication is all tracked here in one place. So as I said, I'm logged in as an administrator, and I'm able to look at all the functions in terms of what you can perform with respect to the customer. And if you see here on the bottom right corner, you can see identity verification documents. So here the customer is actually able to now see when the customer is given the capability to upload certain documents, he is able to upload all of that, and the customer representatives are able to check all of that documents in here, in one place. And similarly, there are plenty of other informations. And if you want to, let's say, manage services on behalf of the customer, let's say you're doing managed services, you can do that under the products and services section. Invoices, quotations, orders, receipts, and ledger. All of this is relating to financial information with regard to the customer. And for example, if you want, you also have audit logs clearly detailing under the log section. And RackNav has been integrated with Value First, which is an SMS gateway, and all of that interaction is tracked here as well. So everything is available in one place for you to manage. You don't need to have different systems to manage different pieces of information. Okay, so now I'm going to quickly show you a product manager's view right now to say, I am an Office 365 product manager. Now I'm going to look at all the products what I have purchased, right? So this is, what my customers have purchased. My apologies. So if you see here, this is the portfolio of all the customers who has purchased an Office 365 a product as well. And now, other than that, you can look at marketing information where, for example, you can look at information around the total portfolio of the entire emails which can be generated from the platform. Okay, so if you see here, this is the full list of all the emails which can be generated. Again, this can be customized, white labeled as per your settings, etc., and all of the content can be customized as per your needs. Okay, so all of this kind of information in terms of the email communications, they are managed under this section, and predominantly it's typically done by the marketing team. And this is basically the template which can be totally be customized as per your needs. Okay. And then similarly, SMS, as I mentioned, you can also send a number of SMS reminders, etc. From here, you can compose them. This is the list of all what has already been provided by default. And promotions, when you're running promotions over a period of time, you can define the promotion code, the percentage, and what products does it need to appear, and what durations it need to appear as well. For example, in here, you are offering a 10% discount on this particular product as a one-time activity when they have purchased it for a 2-year plan for this period. So you can do that as well, and you can also determine whether you want to apply this for existing customers only or new customers. So you can define that. So whenever the customer is putting in this particular promotion code in this box here, he will get his promotions applied. Okay, so that's everything to do from a marketing side. Let's quickly look at something on the sales side where this is very important from a renewal forecast. So you're looking at, let's say we have only another 3 more days to go for this month, or let's say you want to look at how many are the total number of services which are due for renewal in the next 13 days, which is like until the 10th of October, for example, right? So here, when you search for this info, you get the list of all the customers who have services to be renewed. For example, here I get 2 services over this particular owing this much money, and for 2 customers, as I said. So here, the account managers are then able to start chasing these customers, sending them email reminders or sending follow-ups. And if they have already spoken to them, they don't need to follow up and make a remark here as well. So very useful for you as a cloud solution provider to be able to send email reminders and to be staying on top of your renewal dashboard information. Okay. And as I mentioned earlier, RackNav has capability to, for example, capture leads as well from your website. So, for example, when leads come in from the website via, for example, you can have a particular page to capture lead information or contact us information, and that actually comes into the back end and gets stored in the opt-in lead section. So here you start capturing this information as an opt-in lead, then you validate that lead, then that appears under this particular lead section, and then as per your typical CRM process, you can test that as well and then convert that lead to a potential. So the sales life cycle from the time a lead comes onto your portal till the time he's converted to customer, all of that can be tracked on the platform. Okay, I'm conscious about time. We have only about 5 more minutes. I have about 2 or 3 topics, important topics to showcase to you today. Moving on, if you look at the other important aspects from a billing standpoint, all the orders which are coming to the platform, they appear under this particular section. So anything which has been ordered from the marketplace, they appear here. And you can look at, for example, specific information for this particular order and say, what are all the products which are coming as a part of this order? And for example, you can do some manual verification as a part of your business process by clicking on this verify and then provision it as well. So you can do that as well as a part of your standard process. And then, for example, invoicing, very important. These are all the invoices which have been generated on the platform with the details of the date on which it was purchased, whether it's prepaid, how much is the amount money is paid, etc., etc., along with any transaction references with respect to the payment gateway as well. Okay. And receipts is primarily money coming into the platform, whereby you are able to look at all the data which has just come into all the money which is coming into the customer's account per se, to be able to understand what is the receipts as such. Okay. And support, very important. This is primarily where all the tickets which are coming into the platform, they're all logged here in one place. And then you can understand, for example, which are the tickets of low priority, high priority, etc. as well. And then inventory, as I mentioned earlier, if you have data center assets where you are able to add your hardware onto the platform, track them, software licenses, you can track them. You can actually construct a VPS or a dedicated server logically on the platform. So what I mean by that is you will have physical hardware going into your data centers, and when your engineers are starting to build these data center based assets, which includes, for example, items around constructing a VPS or a dedicated server, they are able to manage all of that on the platform itself. Okay. And then last but not the least is reports, plenty of reports for you to look at and understand what is the health of the service, again, looking at auditing information and all of that as well. Okay. So to summarize, what we have looked at so far is everything to do with regard to the administration functions of the CSP administrator, who is able to manage his entire portfolio in terms of services, products, etc. as well. And there is quite an exhaustive knowledge base available where RackNav gives you the capability to understand how to configure plans, etc., as well. Okay, there's quite a detailed knowledge base across different sections which is available. Okay. And then going back into the last item in here, which is to do with the configuration of the platform. So what I'm showing you is primarily everything with regard to configuration of the platform. So here you look at roles and privileges. You can create users on the platform. You can define your branding settings, your logos, and your configuration details in there in terms of organization. And products and services, this is predominantly where you define your plans. Okay, so here, for example, all the plans what you would want to offer, they appear under this particular section here, right? So you categorize these into different logical grouping of products and plans, and via APIs, this information is pulled into the UI to be displayed. Okay, so for example, if you want to define pricing for a particular plan, you go in here, you create the plan and define the pricing. So here, for example, I've just taken Acronis as an example. And if you want to define, let's say, a monthly pricing option, then you define the pricing option here and say whether it's recurring pricing or one-time pricing, etc., in here appropriately in this, under this particular section. You know, so here the monthly pricing is $10. This is $20 for 3 months, etc. So all of that information is available under the package section. And you remember I was telling you about service alerts, so you can set all of that alerts under the section, and you can import the Microsoft entire SKUs from this particular module here. And assets, very important to understand, you know, your data center assets as well. So as I mentioned earlier, I was demonstrating to you as to how you are able to add, for example, your portfolio of services into the data center. For example, this is primarily showing you all of your DC racks, how many are occupied, etc., all of that in a very pictorial way for you to understand the actual assets. Then we have, for example, billing section where you define different currencies. RackNav can handle multiple currencies, and we are enabling multilingual capability as well. We are by the middle of October, we will be able to handle various different languages on the platform as well. And from a support ticket perspective, you can configure your escalation matrices, ESLAs, and everything in here. And marketing, you can define your promotion related information also in here. Okay, so to summarize everything what we have seen so far, RackNav is an end-to-end ERP of cloud services, offering capabilities around automation, billing, self-service portal capabilities, marketing capabilities, etc., to be able to overcome these challenges what you may face in your business and then be successful and profitable. Okay, so I hope that's given you enough information about how you are able to overcome some of these challenges as well. So now let me just see if we can quickly do some questions. I'm conscious about time as well. I think most of the questions have been answered. I think there were a couple of questions around, for example, where can RackNav be deployed? So RackNav can be deployed on your data center premises or in the cloud. So RackNav is able to be deployed on, for example, on Azure public cloud. Okay, so RackNav is able to be doing that as well. And there are a couple of questions around, for example, how long does a typical implementation process take? Okay, so the end-to-end out-of-the-box capability of the platform typically takes about 6 to 8 weeks. Right? And this is provided you have sufficient resources available to be able to help with the entire process in terms of product configuration plans, etc., as well. I'm also seeing a couple of other questions. Let me take them as well right now. Okay, so I think the last question was around how do I get in touch with you guys? The answer is very clear here. You can get in touch with us at touch@racknav.com to be able to get in touch with us to understand anything about the platform, what we have seen. In terms of the cost, for example, we primarily have a customized pricing model, which we work with you to understand how your business growth projections are, what numbers or volumes you plan to do, etc. And we offer a custom pricing option. And the next question is, how easy is it to connect to Microsoft offerings, existing offerings? Okay, and yes, it is very easy. We have an import option whereby we can import existing customers who are already available with you in your existing legacy setup. We can import them very easily, and we've already done a number of migrations like that as well. That is fairly straightforward to do. We will need to understand a little bit more if there are any customizations for your setup which you may need. That we will discuss that. There is a question about what accounting systems do you integrate with right now. So for example, we currently integrate with an accounting tool called Tally, and we are very well aware that you will have your own local accounting system or payment gateways, etc. So we expose APIs from an billing or invoicing perspective. For example, we open invoice APIs, receipts APIs, credit notes APIs, etc., with which you can consume and upload data onto your accounting platforms directly. That is something which you could do. There is also a question about, can I have my own website? Yes, definitely we can. We can help you to connect with that. We have order APIs exposed with which you can connect to your existing website and then be able to consume the products what you have configured as well. Okay, and there is a question about Tier 2 model. Yes, we certainly offer the capability to give Tier 2 based offering in terms of partner model, onboarding, selling, etc. We have a few partners who are signed up for this program as well. And if you are very keen to know a little bit more about the Tier 2 offering, please get in touch with us at touch@racknav.com. We'll be more than happy to set up a one-to-one with you to go through the Tier 2 model in terms of capabilities what we have. Then there is a question about, do we have integration with Power BI reporting? So basically, we do have dashboard of business intelligence reporting available on the platform. which you may have seen already. If you have any other specifics, please write to us directly on that one. Okay. I think we've pretty much answered all of these questions already. There is a question about, can we do multi-factor authentication at the client level, at the client portal level? We do have multi-factor authentication at the admin portal level for the CSP. We do not have that enabled for the end customer. We can work on that if that's needed. That's not a big problem. So we can work with you to understand what your custom needs are, and then work out a specific plan with which we can make this happen. Okay. So with that, I think we've concluded with everything with regard to the questions, what we are able to do right now. Okay. Let me see if there is anything on this right now. No, I don't think there are any more questions. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you having spared your valuable time to go through some of the challenges what the CSPs are facing and how they can be overcome with offerings from RackNav. So please do not hesitate to get in touch with us at touch@racknav.com. Thank you so much and have a great day ahead. Goodbye.
Thank you, Sabri. Thank you, everyone, for joining the session. This is Gurpreet. Take care. Bye-bye.